Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Design Tales, the podcast where we break down the biggest ideas in design so you can digest them on your commute, while you work out, or while you're trying to make your to-do list not look like a grocery receipt. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute classics of web design, Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. Now, if you've ever stared at a website and thought, why is this so confusing? This book is for you. Steve Krug is here to help you, your website, and honestly, your sanity. He's like the internet's usability therapist. In the next 10 minutes, we'll cover a quick overview of the book, the main concepts, don't worry, no tech jargon here, key takeaways that you'll actually use, the book's strengths and weaknesses, some notable quotes to impress your friends, and how you can apply these ideas in real life. So, let's get into it. Alright, so what's Don't Make Me Think all about? In a nutshell, Steve Krug's message is simple. Websites should be easy to use. And by easy, I mean you shouldn't have to sit there staring at the screen, scratching your head wondering, what do I click on? Or where do I go next? That's the don't make me think part. If people are forced to think too much when they're navigating a website, you've got a problem. Krug's book is like a no-nonsense guide to web usability, aka how to make websites that don't suck. It's been around since the early 2000s, but the lessons still totally apply today, especially since the internet hasn't magically become a better place to navigate in the last 20 years. The book is a quick, fun read and full of practical advice on how to design websites and apps that are so easy to use, they feel like second nature. Krug's writing is also super light and funny, so even though you're learning a ton, it doesn't feel like you're reading a textbook. Alright, let's break down the core ideas from this book. Krug keeps it simple, so I'm going to do the same. The recurring theme of this book, which isn't exactly surprising, is don't make me think. This is the heart of the book. The idea is that web pages should be self-explanatory. When users land on your site, they shouldn't have to figure out how to use it. It should be obvious. If people have to stop and think about where to click or what something means, they're already frustrated. Think about how often you've clicked on a button only to realize it wasn't the button you thought it was.
Yeah.
That's a fail in usability. Next is the importance of scanning. Here's the thing. People don't read websites. They scan them. Krug says people glance around a web page, looking for something that grabs their attention, and they often skip large chunks of text. So, if you're designing something, you've got to make sure it's scannable. That means using clear headings, bullet points, and easy-to-spot links, so people can find what they need without getting lost in a sea of paragraphs. Another important concept is that conventions are your friend. Krug is all about sticking with conventions. That means using things that people are already familiar with, like placing the logo in the top left corner of a site, or using a magnifying glass icon for the search bar. It might seem boring, but users don't want surprises. They want what's familiar. Think of it like driving a car. The gas pedal is always on the right, the brake is on the left. You don't want to change that up just for fun, unless you want people crashing into metaphorical walls. Next to note is that simplicity rules, less is more, my friends. Krug's big point here is that web pages should be as simple as possible. Too much clutter, too many options, and too many words just confuse people. The clearer and simpler the layout, the easier it is for users to do what they came to do. When in doubt, remove unnecessary elements and keep things clean. And finally, we talk about usability testing. One of the most important takeaways from this book is the idea that usability testing is key. And here's the kicker. It doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. Krug suggests testing early and often with real users to see where they get stuck. Even testing with just a few people can reveal major usability issues that you might not notice because, well, you're too close to the project. It's like getting a friend to proofread your essay. Sometimes you need a fresh set of eyes. So, what should you take away from this book? Let's make this super easy. First, design for clarity, not cleverness. Your website isn't a puzzle. It's a tool. The easier it is for people to understand and use, the better. Krug says, don't make your users work harder than they have to. Secondly, users scan, they don't read. Make your pages scannable with clear headings, bold text for important points, and simple layouts. If your website looks like a novel, no one's going to stick around to read it. Next thing to keep in mind is to use conventions. Don't reinvent the wheel. Stick with what's familiar, and make sure your design follows common practices. That way, users won't be confused about how to navigate your site. And last but not the least, test with real people. Even if you only test with a few users, you'll get valuable insights into what's working and what's not. And don't wait until the end. Test early and often. Now, let's talk about what this book does well and where it might fall a little short. A huge strength of this book is that it's super practical. Krug gives you actual, actionable advice. You can read a chapter and immediately go apply it to your website. No fluff, just the good stuff. Another underrated, yet important aspect is that it is funny and light. For a book about web usability, you'd expect it to be dry, but Krug's writing is anything but. He's got a great sense of humor, and it makes learning about design way more enjoyable. And finally, it's short and sweet. At just over 200 pages, it's a quick read. Krug doesn't waste your time with unnecessary theory or jargon. You could knock it out in a weekend, no problem. A drawback, if you may look at it that way, will be that it's web-focused. While the principles can be applied to app design or other digital interfaces, the book's core focus is on websites. If you're looking for more in-depth info on mobile apps or product design, you might need a different resource. Another aspect of this book is that it is not super technical. If you're looking for a deep dive into the technical aspects of UX design, this book might feel a little surface level. It's more of a usability primer than a detailed guide. Let's sprinkle in some of Krug's most memorable quotes. These are great if you want to sound like a web design expert at your next team meeting or coffee catch-up. First one is that nothing important should ever be more than 2 clicks away. This is Krug's way of saying, don't bury the good stuff. Make sure users can easily find what they're looking for without going on a wild goose chase. Another one I like is that if something requires a large investment of time, or looks like it will, it's less likely to be used. This one's a reality check. If your site looks like a complicated mess, people are going to bounce faster than you can say the word. User drop-off. And lastly, very eloquently put together, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. In case you didn't get it, this just emphasizes the importance of focusing on what truly matters in design and usability. Now, how do you apply the magic of don't make me think to your life? Even if you're not a web designer, these principles are super handy. The first would be when building or updating websites. If you've got a personal website, a business site, or even just a blog, look at it with fresh eyes. Is it easy to navigate? Can people find what they need in seconds? If not, time to declutter and simplify. Secondly, this can be used for application and software design. The principles in this book don't stop at websites. Think about how you can make any interface easier to use. Whether it's an app, a dashboard, or even a form, simplicity is key. And most importantly, in everyday communication, even beyond digital design, Krug's ideas about clarity and simplicity apply to how we communicate in general. When writing emails, creating presentations, or even giving directions, make it as easy as possible for people to understand you. No one wants to decode an email or a PowerPoint slide. So, to wrap things up, Don't Make Me Think is a must-read if you want to create user-friendly designs. It's packed with practical advice, humor, and insights that can help you navigate the ever-evolving digital landscape. Whether you're a seasoned designer or just starting out, remember, the goal is to make your users' lives easier. Because at the end of the day, we all want to feel like we're gliding through our tasks, not wrestling with them. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Design Tales. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and share with your fellow design lovers. Now, go out there and create something amazing that doesn't make anyone think too hard. And don't forget to comment which book you want me to talk about in my next video. Catch you next time.